Morning. Right, I've got a bit of a funny story for you this morning, and it's how I became chief engineer on a ship. Right. So, as most people probably know, I was with Network Rail from 21 until just about 31, 32. Worked my way up for an apprentice, and I ended up my last 2 years was an RRV operator. So like road railers, like excavators with train wheels as well. Did that. Then I went to from Network Rail, went to Petroineos, if that's how you say it, and I was infrastructure supervisor for all the track in the oil refinery at Grangemouth, and ended up becoming a train driver as well. Got my certificates for industrial locomotives, which is all right. And then I went into teaching, education, young people, and then went to Land and Water. I was one of their engineers, operators and engineers, fixing all the plant up to 490 excavators. I'm not the best plant for it in the world, not the worst, but I give everything a good go. So did that for, well, I'm not sure, maybe about a year and a half or something. Then I became a plant trainer. I went around the UK teaching young people. I'm on a bike going. Became a plant trainer. MPAWS on CPCS, training colleges around various work sites in the UK. And then I went on to train experienced operators, right? Now, it was quite tough. I mean, you know, I'm working around the country. You know, a lot of older guys, plant operators, are well better than me. You know what I mean? Farm, you know, they've been on machines 30 years. You know, that's all they've ever done, drive 360s. Really good guys, really good operators. And I was going in, and it was like, you know, young lad, or say, I think I'm a young lad, like young lad going in, and they're like, oh, here we go. Do you know what I mean? But you know, it was pretty good. And I was like, look, I'm not here to teach you anything. I'm just here to observe. Yeah, you know, dig a trench, climb up a pile, load a dumper, walk me around the machine, tell me all about it. You know what I mean? Anyway, it was a good job. But you know, I was working away every week. Colchester, London, Carlisle, yeah, all over the Midlands. You name it, I've been there. So anyway, this job comes up, right? I'm on Facebook, and this job came up, right? And how I found it was somebody posted a video, right, from their balcony in Manchester with a ship, a big oil tanker driving past the balcony, and I'm like, pardon my French, I'm like, fuck me, like, I'm like, wow, I'm like, where's this? Do you know what I mean? I'm gonna have to go and sit with a picnic and a couple of beers and watch these ships go into Manchester. And it was shared on the Manchester Ship Canal page. So I went to that page, and I'm flicking through, and this job was available on a dredging ship, right, as a dredge operator. And it was like, training will be given and stuff. I mean, I could drive a machine anyway, but I'm no marine engineer. I can fix machines, you know, machines. I can fix engines and stuff, but I'm not a specialist in any sort of engineering really. So this job comes up, and I was a bit tired of like working away, you know, doing the training. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to inbox this guy, right? So I did. So it was a Sunday morning, at 6:30 in the morning. I was feeding the birds on my mate's farm. And I thought, do you know what? Sent the message. 10 minutes later, ping, my phone went. Tell me a bit about yourself. Told this guy a bit about myself, yeah. And he says, can I phone you in a minute? I said, yeah, of course you can. So, guy phones me, nice chap, right? And he says, I told him all about what I've done and stuff. And he goes, you're what I'm looking for. He says, can I ask you something? He says, are you farm spec? And I went, farm spec? I said, what's farm spec? He said, farm spec is just where you go in there, you get the job done. No matter what you're up against, yeah. You know, you might be out on the water and something breaks. We just want it fixed, right? I'm like, oh yeah. I said, that's me. Yeah. He says, right. He says, come and meet the crew. So the following week I went and met the crew, handed him a notice from the job, and then like the Monday after. In fact, I tell you what I did. I met him on the Thursday, walked around the vessel. And I said, tell you what I'll do, I'll work tomorrow for free. I said, I'll come in tomorrow, I'll work all day for free, right? Just to see what it's like, see if you like me, see if I can do the job and stuff and what have you. And I worked the foundry for free. He says, come back on Monday. I was on that for about 8 months after that, right? I was actually the longest serving operator and engineer on the ship. So this is how I became chief engineer. So I get on there, obviously work on the ship, and most of your tasks, daily tasks, right? And there is no cutting corners. When you're on a ship, yeah, don't say you've done something, you've not done it, do you know what I mean? Because like the most important thing that I learned being on a ship, it's not just that ship breaking down, you have a danger to other traffic, right? And when you've got oil tankers and stuff and vessels using these shipping lanes, yeah, if you become stuck on that water, yeah, it's a serious thing. You know, you've got to do your logs every day, you've got to sign everything off every day, and then you've got to hand it to the skipper. He's got to read through it, and then you tell the skipper whether it's safe to sail that vessel. Well, that's how it is. So that's what was happening, and you know what, I became very good at it, and you know what, one of the best jobs I have ever had in my life. So if I'm not in the engine room or welding something, fixing something, I'm operating the machine on the deck. And yeah, it was a really good job. Anyway, so this is how I became chief engineer, right? It was then my job to take all the fuel deliveries, yeah, for the fuel. So every couple of weeks, to start with, the skipper was taking them, you know, before I took it on. And then it came over to me, and he goes, right, so you're in charge now. So all the fuel deliveries, you take them, you sign for them, you check them. And I went, yeah, sound. Anyway, so this fuel place comes and delivers like an 8-wheeler or something like that, and we took 12 tons of fuel on, right? He comes in. I said, just come on board, come up to the wheelhouse, and I'll sort the paperwork out and that. So he hands me this slip of paper, and I'm like, right, okay, where do I sign? Yeah, and it's got like whatever boxes it had, and it had a box saying chief engineer, and I'm thinking, oh, chief engineer. I said to the skipper, I said, where do I sign? He said, sign it chief engineer. I said, what do you mean chief engineer? He said, well, he says, you're the only engineer on the boat. So he says you've been promoted already to chief engineer, like. So I didn't have to work for the grade. It was just you automatically become chief engineer if you're the only engineer. But you know, when I tell people, I'm like, yeah, well, I was chief engineer on a ship, mate. But you know what? It was just, you know, the only engineer is a chief engineer. I think it was pretty funny anyway. But that's how I ended up doing that. And then I thought, do you know what? I'm going to move on to some other stuff, and now I do a bit of recruitment and work on the canal. And you know what? I mean, on the boat was like 18 hours a day, 14, 15, 16 hours a day, every single day, 13 days in a row sometimes, 2 days off. But probably one of the most enjoyable jobs I've ever had. But I think, you know, at the moment, just with a basic 7:30, crouch under this tree on the canal. I'm walking on the canal today. Yeah, I don't have to wear a life jacket because I'm not in work. But yeah, so that's how I ended up. But do you know what? Like I said before, you know, it's never been happier working on the canal, doing a bit of recruitment here and there, telling my stories. Never felt better. Like, so yeah, hope you enjoyed the little story. Good day to you all, and yeah, hope you've got a good weekend. Catch you in a bit.